I was banned from the Alpha's mating ceremony until the Alpha King noticed I was missing. Why was she banned from the Alpha's mating ceremony? And what would happen when the Alpha King realized she was the one person who was not there? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional Alpha King romance filled with powerful choices, unexpected twists, and unforgettable moments. Thank you so much for continuing to watch, support, and share these stories with us. Your encouragement truly helps the channel grow. Tell us in the comments, how would you feel if you were excluded from an important ceremony, only for the most powerful person there to notice your absence? Now settle in, listen closely, and let us begin this unforgettable story. If I asked whether you were coming tonight, Ryan Blackwood said, would you give me an honest answer? Emily Parker nearly dropped the bandage in her hand. The Alpha King sat on the edge of the infirmary table while she finished wrapping a shallow wound along his forearm. Outside the healer's corridor, Blackwood Castle buzzed with preparations for the royal mating ceremony. Every eligible unmated woman in the territory had been summoned. Emily had spent all week pretending that did not include her. She tied the bandage. I always give you honest answers. Ryan's amber eyes remained on her. You'll be there tonight? Emily hesitated. If I'm allowed. His brow furrowed. Your name is in the registry. She looked up. You checked. Something unreadable crossed his face. I saw it. Emily's heartbeat betrayed her. Ryan stood, towering over her in a dark training shirt. Then I expect to see you there. Before she could answer, Commander James Turner appeared in the doorway. Your Majesty, the council is waiting. Ryan gave Emily one final glance. Tonight. Then he left. Hours later, Emily stood beneath the silver lanterns outside Moon Hall wearing the finest dress she owned. It was simple, deep green, no jewels, no noble crest. Her silver invitation token rested in her palm. Women in embroidered gowns passed through the great doors surrounded by mothers, sisters, and attendants. Emily took one step forward. Stop. Madeline Cross stood beside the ceremony master. Her silver gown shimmered beneath the torchlight. Emily stopped. Madeline smiled. Not kindly. You cannot enter. Emily looked toward the ceremony master. My name is registered. It was, Madeline said. A parchment appeared in her hand. At the bottom rested a royal seal pressed into dark blue wax. Emily's stomach tightened. The ceremony master avoided her eyes. By royal authority, Emily Parker has been removed from consideration due to unsuitable rank for royal mating eligibility. Several noble women slowed nearby. Listening, watching. Emily felt heat rise into her face. That order came from the king? Madeline stepped closer. You heal kings, Emily. Her voice dropped, so only those nearest could hear. That does not mean kings marry women like you. A few women exchanged amused looks. Emily stared at the parchment. Ryan had seen her name that morning. He had expected her here. So either something had changed, or someone wanted her to believe it had. She noticed the wax. Dark blue. Not the deep black wax usually used on Ryan's personal orders. But humiliation was already spreading around her. The guard beside the doors extended his hand. Your invitation token. Emily looked at him, then past him. Moon Hall glowed beyond the doorway. Music. Silver banners. A place she had never expected to belong. For one foolish moment that morning, Ryan had made her wonder whether perhaps she did. Emily slowly placed the token into the guard's palm. Madeline's smile widened. You are taking this surprisingly well. Emily met her eyes. What did you expect? Tears, perhaps. Emily looked once more at the sealed order, then at the women pretending not to stare. She would not give them that. She would not beg outside a door where someone had already decided she was worth less than everyone inside. Emily straightened. Tell whoever signed that order they won't have to remove me twice. Madeline's smile faltered. Emily turned away. Behind her, the great doors of Moon Hall closed. She walked through the castle alone, every step carrying her farther from the ceremony. By the time she reached the healer's wing, she had made a decision. Tomorrow, she would request transfer to a border clinic. If Blackwood Castle believed she was good enough to serve but not good enough to stand among them, then perhaps it was time to stop giving the castle either. Back inside Moon Hall, the mating ceremony began, and no one yet understood that the only absence Alpha King Ryan Blackwood would notice was hers. You keep looking at the door. Ryan Blackwood turned his head. Commander James Turner stood half a step behind the royal dais, his expression carefully neutral. I am looking at the room. James glanced toward Moon Hall. Of course. Ryan ignored the comment. The mating ceremony had begun exactly as tradition demanded. Silver lanterns burned above the vaulted stone hall. Musicians played beneath the western balcony. Eligible women stood in two formal lines, dressed in silk, velvet, jewels, and family colors representing some of the most powerful packs in the kingdom. Every smile seemed rehearsed. Every movement had been practiced. Ryan hated it. He had known he would. The Royal Council called the ceremony necessary. Blackwood territory needed a Luna. The Northern Alliances needed stability. And after years without a mate, the kingdom had become increasingly interested in deciding what Ryan apparently could not. Madeline Cross stood near the front. Beautiful, confident, perfectly dressed. Her father, Charles Cross, watched from the council gallery with the satisfied expression of a man who believed the evening was already decided. Ryan barely noticed either of them. His attention returned to the entrance. Still no Emily. He frowned. That morning, she had looked surprised when he asked if she was coming. If I'm allowed. He had thought she was teasing him. Now the words felt different. The ceremony master approached. Your Majesty, we are ready to begin the first presentation. Ryan looked down the line again. No deep green dress. No soft brown hair. No woman pretending not to be nervous while giving him the same direct look she used whenever telling him he needed another day of rest after a difficult shift. He had spent months becoming accustomed to Emily Parker being there. In the infirmary. In the healer's garden. Once beside the Eastern training field when she had informed him, without fear, that being Alpha King did not make a fractured rib less fractured. He had laughed. She had not. Ryan realized now he had expected to find that same honesty somewhere in this room. Instead, Moon Hall felt strangely crowded and empty at once. Your Majesty? Ryan looked at the ceremony master. What? Lady Madeline Cross is prepared for introduction. Madeline stepped forward. Music softened. Ryan's eyes moved past her, toward the registry beside the throne. Wait. The ceremony master stopped. Ryan reached for the leather-bound moon registry. Charles Cross shifted in the gallery. Is something wrong, Your Majesty? Ryan did not answer. He turned the pages. Names. Pack ranks. Ages. Eligibility confirmations. Then he found it. Emily Parker. 25. Blackwood Castle Healer Corps. Unmated. Eligible. Confirmed. Ryan stared at the final word. Confirmed. His own authorization mark rested beside it. James stepped closer. What is it? Ryan pointed to the entry. Her name is still here. James followed his gaze. Yes. So why is she not? Across the hall, Madeline's expression changed. Only slightly. But Ryan saw it. The ceremony master cleared his throat. Some candidates occasionally reconsider before formal presentation. Did Emily withdraw? I was not informed that she did. Ryan closed the registry. Charles Cross descended 2 steps from the council gallery. Your Majesty, perhaps we should not delay a royal ceremony over an assistant healer. Ryan looked at him. Did I say we were delaying it? Charles stopped. Ryan turned toward the candidate lines. Dozens of women watched him. Then toward the guards at the doors. Something cold settled beneath his ribs. Who checked invitations tonight? One guard raised his hand cautiously. I did, Your Majesty. Did Emily Parker arrive? The guard hesitated. Madeline looked toward him. That was enough. Ryan's voice hardened. Answer me. Yes, Your Majesty. The hall became silent. Ryan stepped down from the dais. She came here. Yes. And where is she now? The guard swallowed. She was denied entry. Ryan stopped. By whose order? No one answered. Madeline's fingers tightened around the edge of her gown. Charles Cross went still. Ryan looked slowly across the entire hall. The ceremony no longer mattered. The candidates no longer mattered. Only one question did. His voice carried through every corner of Moon Hall. Where is Emily Parker? She was denied entry under royal authority, Your Majesty. Ryan Blackwood stared at the guard. Moon Hall had gone so quiet that even the musicians had stopped moving. Royal authority? The guard swallowed. Yes. Show me the order. Madeline Cross stepped forward. Ryan, this is hardly necessary. His eyes moved to her. Did I ask you? Her expression tightened. The guard hurried toward the entrance and returned with a folded parchment. Ryan took it. At the bottom sat the Blackwood crest pressed into dark blue wax. Above it was a signature resembling his own. For several seconds, he said nothing. James Turner came beside him. Ryan handed him the parchment. "Read it." James scanned the lines. Emily Parker removed from royal mating eligibility due to unsuitable rank. Murmurs spread through the hall. Charles Cross descended from the council gallery. "Your Majesty, surely we can discuss administrative matters after the ceremony." Ryan looked at the seal again. "No," Charles stopped. Ryan ran one thumb beneath the false signature. Then he looked toward the guard. "Did Emily see this?" "Yes." "What did she say?" The guard hesitated. Madeline's voice cut in. "She left voluntarily." Ryan turned toward her. "That was not my question." The guard lowered his eyes. "She surrendered her invitation token. And she said whoever signed the order would not have to remove her twice." Something inside Ryan went cold. That morning returned to him. If I'm allowed. He had told her name was in the registry. He had expected her here. She had arrived believing she belonged. Then someone had used his name to tell her she did not. Madeline sighed. "Ryan, she is an assistant healer from an insignificant pack. This ceremony concerns alliances that could determine the kingdom's future." Ryan looked at her slowly. "And that gives you authority over my registry?" "I never said I issued anything." "No," his gaze dropped to the dark blue wax. "You only seem unusually comfortable with it." Charles stepped forward. "That accusation is inappropriate." Ryan ignored him. He opened the official moon registry again. Emily Parker. Eligible. Confirmed. His authorization remained untouched. He lifted the forged order beside it. "I never removed her." No one spoke. Ryan's voice hardened. "And I never signed this." Shock rippled through Moon Hall. The ceremony master went pale. Madeline's composure finally cracked. "Then perhaps someone made a clerical mistake." "A clerical mistake does not counterfeit my seal." Charles moved closer. "We should avoid creating public panic over one woman." Ryan looked at him. One woman. His wolf stirred beneath his skin. James noticed. Ryan forced it down. This was not about instinct. It was about someone believing they could choose what he was permitted to see. Madeline lifted her chin. Even if Emily had entered, she was never a serious candidate for Luna. Ryan's expression became unreadable. "That decision was not yours either." The words landed across the hall. Madeline went silent. Ryan turned to James. "Lock the ceremony records." James straightened. "Every registry, every invitation log, guard roster, seal record, and council authorization from the last 7 days." Charles frowned. "On what grounds?" Ryan faced him. "Someone used the crown to humiliate a woman under a false order." His eyes swept the nobles gathered around them. "And whoever did it expected this ceremony to continue before anyone asked questions." The ceremony master shifted nervously. "Your Majesty, should we proceed with the introductions while Commander Turner investigates?" Ryan looked toward the candidate lines. Dozens of women waited. Madeline still stood nearest the throne. Then his gaze moved to the empty place where Emily should have been. "No." A stunned murmur swept the hall. Ryan reached up. Slowly, he removed the ceremonial crown. He placed it on the throne. "There will be no mating ceremony tonight." Charles stepped forward. "Ryan, until I know who used my name to decide which woman I was permitted to see, no one here will be chosen." Madeline stared at him. "You would stop the entire ceremony because Emily Parker is missing?" Ryan looked directly at her. "Yes." Then he turned toward James. "Find out who made that order." James nodded. "And you?" Ryan glanced once toward the closed doors Emily had been forced to walk away from. "I'm going to find the woman it sent away." "If you came here to order me back into that hall," Emily Parker said, "you can save your breath." Ryan Blackwood stopped in the doorway of the healer's quarters. Emily was packing. A small leather case lay open on her bed. 2 dresses, medical instruments, 3 healer's books. Everything she had accumulated during 4 years at Blackwood Castle reduced to what she could carry in one hand. Ryan looked at the bag. "You're leaving." "Tomorrow." "Where?" "Pine Ridge Border Clinic." His jaw tightened. "That assignment is 3 days north." "I know." Emily folded another dress. Ryan remained near the doorway. For a man accustomed to entering any room in his kingdom without permission, he suddenly seemed uncertain whether he was allowed farther inside. Emily noticed. She hated that she noticed. "The order was forged," he said. Her hand stopped. Ryan held up the parchment from Moon Hall. "I never signed it." Emily looked at the familiar dark blue wax. For one second, relief tried to rise inside her. She crushed it. So Madeline lied. Someone did. And you stopped the ceremony? Yes. Emily stared at him. Why? Ryan seemed surprised by the question. Because someone used my authority to remove you. That explains an investigation. She closed the case. It does not explain stopping your mating ceremony. Ryan looked at her. You were supposed to be there. Emily laughed softly. It was not amusement. I was supposed to be there until someone decided a healer from the wrong pack would embarrass the room. I did not decide that. No, she faced him fully. But someone inside your palace believed they could make that decision in your name. Ryan went silent. Emily continued. That is the part you should be worried about. I am. Are you? Her voice sharpened. Because you came here looking like you expect me to be relieved that the humiliation was unauthorized. Ryan flinched. She saw it. Good. I thought you signed it, Emily said. I know. I stood outside that door while women laughed at me because I believed the Alpha King had decided I was good enough to stitch his wounds, but not good enough to stand in his hall. Ryan's expression hardened, not at her, at himself. I should have known before tonight. You should have known your own court. Yes. The simple answer stopped her. Ryan stepped forward once. Come back with me. Emily's face closed immediately. No. The ceremony is suspended. I heard you. You deserve to walk through those doors knowing the order was false. Emily shook her head. I don't need you to let me back into a room that decided my worth before I arrived. Ryan went still. I didn't mean it that way. I know. That seemed to hurt him more. Emily looked toward her packed case. If you command me to return, I will. Ryan's eyes snapped to hers. But if you do, she continued, you will only prove that whether I enter or leave Moon Hall still depends on what someone more powerful decides for me. Silence filled the room. Ryan slowly lowered the parchment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Then I won't command you. Emily looked at him. He held the forged order between them. May I take this to James? The question surprised her. Not because of what he wanted. Because he had asked. You already have it. Ryan glanced down. I mean anything else you noticed. Emily hesitated, then reached into the pocket of her dress. A small fragment of dark blue sealing wax rested in her palm. It broke from the order when the ceremony master folded it. Ryan held out his hand, but did not take it. Emily placed the fragment into his palm. Royal orders usually use black wax, she said. I know. This blue resin smelled like cedar. Ryan's expression sharpened. The Northern Alliance office uses cedar resin. Emily met his eyes. Then find out who wanted me gone. Ryan closed his fingers around the wax. I will. She picked up her case. And Ryan. He stopped at the doorway. Once you find them, don't decide what happens next because you think you are protecting me. His gaze held hers. What should I do? Emily looked toward the distant towers of Blackwood Castle. Decide whether you ever knew your own court. Ryan left without another order. And for the first time that night, Emily wondered whether the Alpha King had finally begun to understand that finding her was not the same as earning the right to keep her there. Only 3 offices in Blackwood Castle use cedar resin in their sealing wax, James Turner said, and one of them belongs to Charles Cross. Ryan Blackwood looked up from the forged exclusion order. They stood inside the records chamber beneath Moon Hall. The mating ceremony had been suspended for nearly 2 hours. Outside, nobles whispered through corridors that should have been filled with music. Inside, James had covered an entire table with ledgers, seal records, guard assignments, invitation lists, council authorizations. Ryan placed the fragment Emily had given him beside the dark blue wax on the parchment. Who are the other 2? The Northern Military Office and the Alliance Registry. Who controls access? James's expression hardened. Charles Cross oversees both during treaty season. Ryan went still. The Northern Alliance. Of course. Charles had spent months reminding the council that a marriage between Ryan and Madeline would secure nearly 4,000 Northern fighters. A political bond disguised as tradition. Ryan looked toward Emily's name in the Moon Registry. She was not simply removed because Madeline disliked her. James shook his head. Emily's presence threatened something. Ryan remembered Madeline standing nearest the throne, perfectly positioned, perfectly confident, as if the outcome had already been arranged. A knock sounded. Senior healer Sarah Bennett entered. You asked to see me? Ryan nodded. Did Madeline Cross ever speak to you about Emily? Sarah's eyes narrowed. Several times. James picked up his pen. What did she ask? Sarah folded her arms. Why His Majesty requested Emily after full moon shifts. Ryan frowned. She treated me because she is competent. I told Lady Madeline exactly that. And she asked why you never requested another healer when Emily was unavailable. Ryan said nothing. Sarah looked directly at him. I did not have an answer. James almost smiled. Ryan ignored him. Anything else? Madeline once asked whether assistant healers were eligible for royal mating ceremonies. Ryan's expression darkened. When? 3 weeks ago. That was before the candidate registry had been publicly released. James wrote it down. Ryan looked again at the forged order. This was planned. Yes, James said. The door opened. Emily stood there. Her traveling case was no longer with her, but she still wore the plain dress from earlier. Ryan straightened. I thought you were leaving tomorrow. I am. His chest tightened. Emily looked at the evidence table. Sarah told me you found something. James explained the cedar resin. Emily listened without interruption. When he finished, she looked at Ryan. So Madeline wanted me gone because of an alliance. Possibly. Emily gave him a tired look. You stopped an entire mating ceremony because I was missing. Ryan held her gaze. Yes. That will make people assume I matter to you. You do. The answer came too quickly. Emily froze. So did James. Ryan did not take it back. Emily looked away first. That is exactly what worries me. Ryan frowned. Why? Because if this investigation becomes about whether the Alpha King wants me, then no one will care whether I was wronged. Her eyes returned to his. They will only care whether I am favored. Ryan understood. Slowly. Painfully. You think I am making this worse. I think your attention protects me and makes me a target at the same time. James cleared his throat. There is another problem. He opened the guard duty ledger. One page had been replaced. The paper was newer. The ink darker. Emily stepped closer. What should have been there? The gate assignment from tonight. James pointed to the altered section. The guard who received your invitation token has been moved on paper to the eastern wall. Ryan's jaw tightened. Someone is rewriting the record. Emily touched the edge of the page. Can you prove it? Yes. James turned to the binding. The original stitching was cut. A bell sounded somewhere above them. Then footsteps approached rapidly. A council clerk entered. His face was pale. Your Majesty. Ryan turned. What? The Royal Council has issued an emergency petition. James's expression changed. Against whom? The clerk looked toward Emily. Her. Silence fell. Emily's face went still. The clerk swallowed. They are claiming Emily Parker forged the exclusion order herself. Ryan's eyes darkened. For what purpose? The clerk hesitated. To create public sympathy. Emily laughed once. Coldly. The clerk continued. And to manipulate the Alpha King into suspending the mating ceremony. Ryan stepped forward. No, Emily raised one hand. He stopped. She looked at him. Do not erase this because you are king. His jaw tightened. Emily, if you silence them now, they will spend the rest of my life saying I survived because you wanted me. Ryan said nothing. Emily turned toward the council chamber doors. Let them accuse me. James frowned. They may demand suspension from the healer corps. They probably will. Or removal from Blackwood territory. Emily's expression did not change. Then this time, I will not walk away from the door. She looked at Ryan. I will make them prove why they think I should be outside it. If you silence them because you are king, Emily said, they will spend the rest of my life saying I survived because you wanted me. Ryan Blackwood stood at the entrance of the Royal Council chamber. Every instinct in him demanded that he end the accusation immediately. One order. One alpha command. One sentence from the throne. Emily Parker would remain inside Blackwood territory, and anyone who objected could answer directly to him. 5 minutes ago, that solution had seemed obvious. Now Emily stood beside him, forcing him to understand why it was wrong. Charles Cross sat at the center of the council table. Madeline stood behind him. Neither looked worried. That bothered Ryan more than anything. Charles unfolded the emergency petition. Emily Parker had access to several royal departments through the healer corps. Emily said nothing. She knew the mating ceremony schedule. Still nothing. She also had reason to create public sympathy. Ryan's hands curled. James Turner noticed. Emily noticed too. She touched Ryan's sleeve once. Not affection. A warning. Do not take this from me. Ryan forced himself to remain silent. Charles continued. The forged exclusion order caused His Majesty to suspend a royal ceremony, jeopardizing northern negotiations. Madeline lifted her chin. And who benefited most? Emily finally spoke. You believe I forged an order humiliating myself in front of half the noblewomen in the kingdom? Charles smiled faintly. I believe ambitious people sometimes accept temporary humiliation for permanent advancement. Ryan stepped forward. Enough. Emily turned. Ryan. His jaw tightened. Charles leaned back. There. That is precisely the problem. Ryan's gaze snapped toward him. The accused has captured the personal concern of the Alpha King. How can this council investigate fairly while His Majesty openly interferes? Emily's face went still. Charles had built the trap well. If Ryan defended her, they would call it favoritism. If he remained silent, they would isolate her. Emily stepped toward the council table. Then remove him from the decision. Everyone froze. Ryan looked at her. What? I want a public hearing. Madeline's confidence flickered. Emily continued. No private council judgment. No royal intervention. She looked directly at Charles. You accused me publicly enough to damage my name. You can prove it publicly too. Charles frowned. That is unnecessary. No, Emily's voice remained calm. It is exactly necessary. James moved beside her. I support the request. Charles looked annoyed. You are not a council member. No, James said. I am the commander investigating the forged order. He placed the altered guard ledger on the table. And someone has already replaced part of the official record. Murmurs spread. Madeline's eyes shifted toward the page. Emily caught it. Only for a second. But she saw it. Sarah Bennett entered from the rear doors carrying the infirmary logbook. You may want this as well. Charles looked at her. What is that? The healer duty register. Sarah opened it. Emily was treating a fever outbreak in the West Infirmary during the hour the exclusion order was prepared. Madeline immediately replied. She could have arranged it earlier. Sarah's expression hardened. Then prove that. The council went silent. Emily looked toward Ryan. He had said nothing. For once, he was allowing her to occupy the center of the room without standing in front of her. She noticed. Charles closed the petition. Until the hearing, Emily Parker should be suspended from the Healer Corps and removed from castle grounds. Ryan's wolf surged. Emily spoke before he could. I accept suspension. Ryan turned sharply. Emily. But I will remain in Blackwood territory until the hearing concludes. Charles shook his head. That is not your decision. No, Emily said. She looked toward James. Is there evidence that I am a flight risk? James answered immediately. None. Evidence that I destroyed records. No. Threatened witnesses? No. Emily looked back at Charles. Then you are not removing me because of evidence. You are removing me because you want me invisible again. The words landed hard. Charles's face changed. Ryan almost smiled. James cleared his throat. There is one more issue. Everyone turned. The guard who received Emily's invitation token has disappeared. Emily's stomach tightened. When, less than an hour after the ceremony was suspended, Madeline looked toward her father. Too quickly. James saw it. Ryan saw it. Emily did too. Charles rose. That proves nothing. No, Emily said quietly. Not yet. She looked toward James. Can you find him? If he is still inside Blackwood territory. Emily picked up the forged order from the table. Her eyes moved across the false signature. The blue wax. The lie that had pushed her outside Moon Hall. Then she looked at Ryan. This hearing cannot happen without that guard. Ryan nodded. I know. For a moment, she saw the old instinct in his face. Command. Control. Solve it for her. Then he stopped himself. What do you want me to do? Emily held his gaze. Nothing that makes his testimony yours. Ryan understood. James closed the ledger. I will take a small search team. Emily turned toward the council doors. Charles called after her. And if the guard cannot be found? Emily stopped. She looked back. Then you will probably call his silence my confession. Charles said nothing. Emily's expression sharpened. So we find him before you get the chance. If Charles Cross wants his alliance protected, James Turner said. He should have thought of that before hiding a witness. Ryan Blackwood looked up. James had returned to Blackwood Castle just before dawn. Mud covered his boots. One sleeve was torn, but the missing guard stood behind him. Alive. Terrified. Emily rose from the chair beside the records table. You found him. James nodded. In an abandoned hunting lodge near the northern road. The guard would not meet her eyes. Ryan's voice hardened. Who sent you there? The man swallowed. I was told to disappear until the hearing ended. By whom? His hands shook. Lady Madeline Cross. Emily went still. Ryan stepped forward. And the exclusion order? The guard closed his eyes. She gave it to me before the ceremony. Silence filled the chamber. She said it had already been approved. By me? Yes, Your Majesty. Ryan's jaw tightened. The guard continued. I did not know the signature was false. Who gave her access to the seal? The man hesitated. I heard her say her father had arranged everything. James looked toward Ryan. That was enough for an investigation. Not yet enough for conviction. The doors opened. A council messenger entered carrying a sealed letter. Ryan recognized the cross crest immediately. He read it once. Then again. Emily watched his expression change. What? Ryan handed the letter to James. He read aloud. If formal charges are brought against Charles or Madeline Cross, the Northern Alliance will reconsider its military commitment to Blackwood territory. Emily's stomach tightened. James lowered the page. For 1,000 fighters. Ryan nodded. The northern border had been unstable for months. Losing those soldiers would not be symbolic. Villages could be exposed. People could die. Emily looked toward the frightened guard. Then toward Ryan. You cannot make this decision because of me. His eyes moved to hers. This is not because of you. If the alliance collapses, then I find another way to defend the border. Ryan. His voice became quieter. You think I am choosing you over the kingdom. Emily said nothing. He stepped closer. I am choosing whether this kingdom is allowed to protect corruption because the corrupt man commands soldiers. Her expression changed. Ryan looked toward the cross letter. This is not choosing you over my kingdom. His amber eyes returned to hers. It is deciding what kind of kingdom deserves to survive. For once, Emily had no answer. James broke the silence. We still need physical evidence connecting Charles to the seal. Emily looked at the tables. Seal logs. Guard records. Alliance accounts. Something bothered her. Where is the wax inventory? James frowned. The what? The Northern Alliance office must record ceremonial supplies. She began searching through the ledgers. Ryan joined her, but did not touch anything she had not handed him. Emily opened one book. Nothing. Another. Then she stopped. There. A single entry. Dark blue cedar resin. Full issue authorized to cross office. Date. The morning of the mating ceremony. James leaned closer. All of it. Emily nodded. No other office received blue resin that day. Ryan's expression turned cold. James added the wax ledger to the evidence stack. With the guard's testimony, the altered duty roster, Sarah's infirmary records, the original registry, and this, we have enough for the hearing, Emily said. Ryan looked at her. Yes. She stared down at the forged exclusion order. For days, everyone had discussed where she belonged. Inside, outside, eligible, unsuitable, wanted, unwanted. She was tired of letting other people choose the room where her truth would be heard. Emily picked up the silver invitation token James had recovered from the gate records. Ryan watched her. What are you thinking? She closed her fingers around it. The council wants a hearing. Yes. Madeline wanted me humiliated quietly enough that the ceremony could continue. Ryan's eyes sharpened. Emily looked toward the distant doors of Moon Hall. The same doors that had closed in her face. No private chamber. James understood first. A slow smile appeared. Emily turned to Ryan. Reopen the mating ceremony. He stared at her. You want to go back there? I want every person who watched me get turned away to watch the truth come through the same door. Ryan said nothing for a moment, then nodded. When Emily picked up the forged order. Tonight. Ryan looked at the silver token in her other hand. Do you want me waiting at the entrance? Emily shook her head. No, a faint understanding crossed his face. She continued. Open the doors. Her voice steadied. Then let me walk through them myself. Open the doors. Ryan Blackwood's voice carried through Moon Hall. The same guards who had stopped Emily Parker 2 nights earlier pulled the great silver doors apart. Hundreds of nobles turned. Emily stood outside. No royal gown. No jewels. No pack crest. Only a simple dark green dress, the forged exclusion order in one hand and the silver invitation token in the other. Ryan waited near the throne. He did not walk toward her. He did not send guards to escort her inside. He simply stepped back. The choice was hers. Emily crossed the threshold. Madeline Cross went pale. Charles Cross remained seated beside the council table, but his fingers tightened around the carved wood. The whispering began immediately. Emily heard every word. Healer. Lowborn. Favorite. Manipulator. She kept walking. When she reached the center of Moon Hall, James Turner placed an evidence table beside her. Ryan remained several feet away. Not in front of her. Not behind her. Beside the truth, but not controlling it. Emily looked across the hall. 2 nights ago, I was told I did not belong here. Silence settled. She raised the forged order. This document said the Alpha King had removed me from mating eligibility because of my rank. She placed it on the table. He did not. James opened the original Moon Registry. Emily Parker remained officially eligible. He turned it toward the council. Ryan's authorization mark was clearly visible. Emily placed the dark blue wax fragment beside the order. This sealing resin came from the Northern Alliance office. James added the inventory ledger. All blue cedar resin issued that morning was assigned to Charles Cross's office. Charles stood. That proves only possession of wax. Emily nodded. You are right. Madeline looked surprised. Emily turned toward James. He brought the missing guard forward. The young man looked terrified. But he spoke. Lady Madeline Cross gave me the exclusion order. Gasps spread across Moon Hall. Madeline stepped forward. He is lying. The guard looked at her. You told me the king had approved it. I never. And you told me to disappear after the ceremony was suspended. James placed the altered guard roster beside the ledger. The original stitching was cut and replaced after Emily was denied entry. Charles's face hardened. You expect this hall to believe an assistant healer over a high alpha family? Emily looked at him. No, she placed Sarah Bennett's infirmary register on the table. I expect them to believe evidence. Sarah stepped forward. Emily was treating patients during the period the forged order was prepared. Emily turned one final page. The wax. The guard. The altered roster. The original registry. The false signature. One piece alone could be questioned. Together, they formed the truth. Madeline's composure finally broke. She was never supposed to matter. The hall froze. Charles turned toward his daughter. Madeline. But it was too late. Madeline looked at Ryan. You needed the Northern Alliance. You needed a Luna who could strengthen the crown. Her voice sharpened. She was a healer. Ryan's face became unreadable. Madeline pointed toward Emily. A woman like her should never have been standing beside women born to rule. Emily felt the old humiliation return. But this time she was not outside the door. And she was not alone. She looked directly at Madeline. I could humiliate you now. Madeline went still. Emily continued. But then I would be doing exactly what you did. She pushed the evidence toward James. I only want the truth recorded. Ryan's eyes stayed on her. Something changed in them. Not possession. Respect. James ordered Madeline and Charles placed under formal investigation for forgery, witness interference, and misuse of royal authority. Then he returned something to Emily. Her silver invitation token. The hall watched. Emily accepted it. Ryan finally stepped forward. He faced the nobles who had watched Emily leave 2 nights earlier. You told her she was not a woman I could choose. No one moved. Ryan looked at Emily. His voice softened. She was the only woman I noticed was missing. Emily's breath caught. Madeline stared at him. Charles closed his eyes. Ryan turned toward the ceremony master. The ranking system is abolished. Shock spread through the hall. No woman will ever again be measured by bloodline, wealth, or political usefulness before I am permitted to speak to her. Then Ryan stepped down from the royal platform until he stood directly before Emily. He did not touch her. He did not claim her. He simply asked, what happens next? Emily looked at the token in her hand, then at the doors behind her. For the first time, she understood that everyone in Moon Hall was waiting for the Alpha King's decision. Ryan was waiting for hers. Emily lifted her eyes. What happens next, she said quietly, is not your decision alone. If I say yes, Emily Parker said, it will not be because an entire hall just watched you choose me. Ryan Blackwood stood before her in the center of Moon Hall. The nobles remained silent. Madeline and Charles Cross had already been escorted away under guard. The forged order still rested on the evidence table. So did the original registry, the blue wax, the altered duty ledger. Every piece of the humiliation that had brought Emily back through the doors she had once been forbidden to enter. Ryan looked at her. Then I will not ask you here. Emily blinked. Around them, several council members exchanged confused looks. Ryan turned toward the ceremony master. This gathering is over. The man hesitated. Your Majesty, the mating ceremony is over. Ryan removed the ceremonial crown from the throne and handed it to James Turner. There will be no Luna chosen tonight. A murmur swept through Moonhall. Emily watched him carefully. He had spent days proving someone else had abused his authority. Now he was choosing not to use that authority for himself. Ryan returned to her. I meant what I said. Which part? That what happens next is not mine to decide alone. Emily looked down at the silver invitation token in her hand. What exactly do you want? Ryan took a slow breath. To know you. You already know me. I know the healer who tells me when I am being stubborn. You are usually being stubborn. A faint smile touched his face. I know. Then it disappeared. But I do not know what you wanted before everyone started deciding it for you. Emily went quiet. No one had asked her that. Not the council. Not Madeline. Not even herself. Ryan continued. I do not want another mating ceremony. Her eyes lifted. I do not want to put you in another line of women and pretend choosing you publicly would make what happened romantic. Something in Emily's chest tightened. Then what are you asking? One dinner. Several nobles were still close enough to hear. Emily glanced around. Ryan followed her gaze. Not here. That almost made her laugh. He lowered his voice. One dinner somewhere without a throne. And after that, you decide whether there is another. Emily studied him. And if I say no? Then I accept it. No royal persuasion? No alpha command? His expression hardened at the thought. Never. Emily slipped the invitation token into her pocket. One dinner. Ryan's face changed. Hope. But controlled. One. He nodded. I will take it. 3 months later, Emily was still a healer at Blackwood Castle. Not Luna. Not royal consort. Not Ryan's possession. A healer. Exactly as she had chosen. The reforms to the mating ceremony had survived the council's resistance. Candidate rankings based on wealth and bloodline were abolished. No family could remove another eligible woman from consideration. And every royal invitation now required independent verification before exclusion. Ryan had kept his word. But more importantly, he had kept showing up. Dinner became another dinner. Then walks through the healer's garden. Then early mornings when Ryan brought coffee to the infirmary after Emily worked through the night. The first time he arrived carrying a tray himself, Sarah nearly dropped an entire basket of herbs. Emily had laughed for 5 minutes. Ryan had pretended to be offended. He was terrible at pretending. One evening, Emily finished treating a young guard with a twisted ankle and stepped into the corridor. Ryan was waiting against the stone wall. No crown. No guards. Only a dark coat and 2 cups of warm cider. You are late, he said. I was working. I noticed. She took 1 cup. That sounds dangerously like complaining. I have learned better. You are learning slowly. I am 37. Change requires patience. Emily smiled. They walked toward Moonhall. A royal celebration was underway inside. Music drifted through the doors. Emily stopped. Ryan noticed immediately. The same entrance. The same silver lanterns. For a moment, she was back there again, holding an invitation. Being told women like her did not belong. Ryan did not reach for her. Do you want to leave? Emily looked at him. Not. Do you want me to make them let you in? Not. Come with me. Just a question. She looked toward the open doors. I don't know. That is allowed. Emily breathed. Then she started forward. Ryan stayed beside her. At the entrance, one of the guards smiled. Miss Parker. He held out a silver token. Your invitation. Emily looked at it. Then at Ryan. Ryan said nothing. She picked up the token. For months, it had represented everything other people believed they could grant or remove. Access. Eligibility. Worth. Emily placed it back in the guard's palm. I don't need this anymore. The guard looked uncertain. Ryan smiled slightly. Emily stepped through the doors. Not because the Alpha King ordered them open. Not because a registry said she qualified. Because she had chosen to enter. Inside, nobles turned toward them. Ryan offered his hand. He did not assume she would take it. Emily looked at him. 3 months ago, she had wanted nothing from this hall except the truth. Now she wanted something else. A possibility. She placed her hand in his. Ryan's fingers closed gently around hers. No announcements, she warned. I had prepared 12. Emily stared at him. He almost smiled. Kidding. You are getting brave. Dangerously. They walked farther into Moonhall. This time, Emily did not feel like the woman who had finally been allowed inside. She felt like the woman who had never needed their permission to have value in the first place. Ryan looked at her. Would you like to dance? Emily let him wait. just long enough to remind them both that the answer belonged to her. Then she smiled. Yes. And the Alpha King, who had once noticed she was missing, finally learned something more important than how to find her. He learned how to wait until she chose to stay. You were staring at the door again, Emily said. Ryan Blackwood looked away from the entrance to Moon Hall. I was waiting for you. That sounds suspiciously familiar. His mouth curved. Should I pretend I was admiring the architecture? No. You are terrible at pretending. 6 months had passed since the night Emily walked back through those doors by choice. The palace had changed. Not dramatically. Blackwood Castle was still Blackwood Castle. Stone walls. Long corridors. Council arguments that lasted too long. Guards who tried very hard not to gossip and failed consistently. But some things were different. The mating registry no longer ranked women by bloodline. No candidate could be removed by one office. Every exclusion required 3 independent signatures. And the Northern Alliance office had lost control over ceremonial records entirely. Charles Cross had been stripped of his council position. Madeline remained under formal sanction and had returned to her family territory. Emily had not celebrated either punishment. She had wanted truth, not revenge. Ryan had understood. Tonight, Moon Hall was hosting a spring gathering. No mating ceremony. No candidate lines. No women standing beneath chandeliers waiting to be evaluated. Just music, food, pack leaders, and too many people pretending not to watch Ryan and Emily. Emily noticed. They are still waiting for you to announce something. Ryan looked toward a group of council elders. They have been waiting for 6 months. Does that bother you? No, she raised an eyebrow. It bothers them. That improves my mood considerably. Emily laughed. Ryan offered his arm. She did not take it immediately. He waited. Then she slipped her hand around it. That small pause had become part of them. Ryan never complained. He had learned waiting was not rejection. Sometimes it was simply respect. They entered the hall together. Sarah Bennett spotted them near the musicians. Her eyes moved to Emily's hand on Ryan's arm. Emily narrowed her eyes. Do not. Sarah smiled innocently. I said nothing. You were about to. I am a healer. I observe. You gossip. Professionally. Ryan leaned toward Emily. I like her. You should not encourage her. Across the room, Commander James Turner lifted his cup. Ryan returned the gesture. Then one of the younger council members approached. Your Majesty. Ryan turned. Counselor. The man bowed. Forgive the interruption, but there is a matter concerning the royal succession. Emily felt Ryan's arm tense beneath her hand. The counselor continued. With the mating system dissolved, there remains uncertainty regarding how the crown will formalize a future Luna. Ryan's expression cooled. We already discussed this. The kingdom needs clarity. Emily slowly released Ryan's arm. The counselor noticed. So did Ryan. He looked at Emily before answering. That mattered. Emily said quietly. Go ahead. Ryan turned back. The crown will formalize a Luna when the woman involved agrees to become one. The counselor hesitated. And if the Alpha King has already chosen? Ryan's eyes hardened. Then he still requires her answer. The nearby conversations began fading. People were listening. Emily felt the old discomfort return. A room discussing her future before she had spoken. The counselor continued carefully. Surely royal duty cannot depend entirely on personal hesitation. Emily's jaw tightened. Ryan saw it. He could have ended the conversation. Instead, he stepped aside. Not away from her. Out of her way. Emily looked at the counselor. Personal hesitation? The man paled slightly. I meant no offense. You are asking when your king will name a Luna. Yes. And you are asking while standing 3 feet from the woman everyone assumes you mean. Silence spread around them. Emily continued. So ask me. The counselor looked deeply uncomfortable. Ryan almost smiled. Miss Parker, the man said. Do you intend to become Luna? Emily looked at Ryan. He gave her nothing. No hopeful expression designed to influence her. No silent command. Only patience. Emily turned back. I don't know. Several people shifted. The counselor blinked. You do not know? No, Emily's voice remained calm. I know I care about Ryan. Ryan's expression softened. I know I trust him more today than I did 6 months ago. The hall stayed quiet. But becoming Luna means more than loving a man. She looked around Moon Hall. It means accepting responsibility for thousands of people. The counselor slowly nodded. Emily continued. I will not accept that responsibility because everyone is impatient for a ceremony. Ryan's eyes never left her. And if I ever say yes, Emily said. It will be because I am ready to serve the kingdom without disappearing inside the title. The counselor bowed. That is fair. Emily smiled faintly. It should have been obvious. After he left, Ryan leaned closer. You handled that better than I would have. You would have threatened the council. I would have considered it. Emily looked at him. Growth. Painful growth. The musicians began another song. Ryan held out his hand. Would you like to dance? Emily looked at his hand, then at the room that once decided whether she deserved to enter. 6 months ago, everyone had waited for Ryan to choose. Tonight, they had heard her say she might never become Luna, and the world had continued turning. Emily placed her hand in his. Yes. Ryan led her toward the dance floor. No announcement followed. No crown appeared. No ceremony transformed her into anything she had not chosen. And as Emily moved with him beneath the silver lanterns, she realized something had changed more deeply than any law. The palace was finally learning that her uncertainty was not a problem the Alpha King needed to solve. It was a freedom he had learned to protect. If becoming Luna means I have to stop being Emily Parker, Emily said, then I will never become Luna. Ryan Blackwood did not answer immediately. They stood inside the Western Infirmary while rain struck the castle windows. 3 days had passed since the spring gathering. 3 days since Emily publicly admitted she did not know whether she wanted the title everyone expected her to accept. Ryan had not mentioned it again. The council had, repeatedly. Now a sealed report lay open between them. A fever outbreak had struck 2 villages near the northern border. 47 people were sick. The nearest royal healer unit could not arrive for another 4 days. Emily closed the report. I am going. Ryan's expression tightened. To Northridge. Yes. That territory is still politically unstable. I know. There have been attacks on supply wagons. I read the same report you did. His jaw moved. Emily waited. This was the moment she had begun recognizing in him. The old Ryan would already have issued an order. The new Ryan fought the instinct first. Finally he asked, What do you need? Emily's shoulders loosened. 2 healer wagons. Medicine. Sarah. 6 volunteers. Guards. Enough to protect the supplies. How many is enough? Not 50 soldiers surrounding a medical convoy. A reluctant smile touched his face. 12. 8. 10. Emily considered. Fine. Ryan nodded. I will arrange it. She stared at him. What? You are not coming? His expression changed. Do you want me to? Emily opened her mouth, then stopped. Months ago, she would have assumed the Alpha King had already decided. Now he was asking. I don't know. That answer seems popular lately. She gave him a look. Careful. Ryan smiled. Then the seriousness returned. If I come, the villages may see a royal inspection instead of medical aid. Emily nodded slowly. And if you stay, I trust you to lead it. The word caught her. Lead. Not assist. Not accompany. Lead. Emily looked down at the fever report. The council thinks I am uncertain because I am afraid of responsibility. Are you? No, she met his eyes. I am afraid of accepting responsibility in a way that makes everyone believe they own the rest of me. Ryan understood immediately. Then do this as Emily. What? Go north as a healer. He folded the report and handed it back. Not as a potential Luna. Not as my representative. Not as the woman the kingdom is waiting to crown. His voice softened. As Emily Parker. Something inside her shifted. 2 days later, the healer convoy reached Northridge. The outbreak was worse than expected. Children coughing beneath wool blankets. Farmers too weak to stand. Families frightened enough to argue over medicine. Emily worked for 18 hours. She organized isolation rooms inside the village chapel, separated drinking wells from contaminated runoff, assigned Sarah to the children, placed volunteers on rotating rest schedules. When 2 frightened pack leaders demanded priority medicine for their own families, Emily refused. We treat the sickest first. One alpha stared at her. Do you know who I am? Emily continued measuring fever tonic. Yes. And it does not change your daughter's temperature. Sarah hid a smile. By the 3rd day, new cases had slowed. By the 5th, the first recovered families were leaving isolation. Then a rider arrived from Blackwood Castle. Emily expected another supply manifest. Instead, he carried a council decree. She read it once. Her stomach tightened. Royal Council requests formal appointment of Emily Parker as acting Luna following successful Northern Crisis leadership. Sarah read over her shoulder. Well, Emily folded the parchment. They never learn. That evening, Ryan arrived. Only 10 guards. Exactly the number they had agreed upon. He found Emily outside the chapel washing medicine from her hands. She held up the decree. Did you approve this? No, do you support it? Ryan looked toward the recovering village. Then back at her. I support what you did here. That was not my question. No, Emily waited. Ryan continued. I will not turn your competence into another argument for why you owe the kingdom a title. Her anger softened. The council may fight you. They usually do. They could accuse you of placing personal feelings above succession. They already have. Emily looked at him. And what will you tell them? Ryan stepped closer but stopped before touching her. That the woman they want to make Luna just proved she can lead without a crown. His eyes held hers. And if she ever accepts one, it will be because she chose the responsibility, not because we rewarded her competence by taking away her freedom. Emily stared at him for a long moment. Then she handed him the decree. What should we do with this? Ryan looked at it. I have several inappropriate suggestions. She laughed. Officially, I decline. On whose authority? Ryan smiled faintly. Mine. Emily raised an eyebrow. He corrected himself. Unless you want to answer it yourself. She took the parchment back. Yes. Ryan's expression softened. Emily turned it over and wrote one sentence across the bottom. I will serve where I am needed, but I will decide what title I carry. She handed it to the messenger. Send that to the council. The rider bowed and left. Ryan watched him go. You realize they will hate that. Emily looked toward the families recovering inside the chapel. Good. Then she glanced at Ryan. Maybe they are finally ready to learn the difference between choosing a woman and choosing for her. If the council wants an answer about my future, Emily Parker said, then they can hear it from me. Ryan Blackwood looked at her across the royal strategy table. You do not owe them one. No, Emily folded the formal summons. But I am tired of people debating my choices in rooms where I am not standing. 3 weeks had passed since the fever outbreak at Northridge. The villages were recovering. Emily had returned to Blackwood Castle with exhausted healers, empty medicine chests, and a reputation she had never asked for. The council had responded exactly as she expected. They praised her leadership, then tried to turn it into a title. Acting Luna. Future Queen. Suitable royal match. Different words. Same problem. Ryan leaned back. The council chamber will be full. Good. Charles Cross still has supporters. I know. Some of them believe abolishing the mating rankings weakened the crown. Emily looked at him. Do you? No, the answer came immediately. She nodded. Then stop warning me like you want me to stay away. Ryan's expression tightened. I want you safe. I know. That is different. It is. Emily softened. And you are getting better at remembering that. An hour later, the royal council chamber was crowded. Pack leaders filled the stone gallery. Sarah Bennett stood beside James Turner near the rear doors. Emily entered alone. Ryan was already seated beneath the Blackwood crest, not on the elevated throne, at the same council table as everyone else. Emily noticed. Counselor Henry Wallace rose. Miss Parker, the council recognizes your service during the northern outbreak. Thank you. Your leadership demonstrated qualities traditionally required of a Luna. Emily waited. Wallace continued. The kingdom requires certainty. Ryan's jaw tightened. Emily spoke before he could. About what? Succession. My medical work does not determine succession. No, but your relationship with His Majesty is my relationship. The room quieted. Wallace frowned. The Alpha King cannot remain indefinitely without formal royal partnership. Emily looked toward Ryan. He gave her no signal, no instruction. She returned her attention to the council. Then perhaps your problem is not that I have failed to decide. She placed both hands on the table. Perhaps your problem is that the system still assumes someone else is entitled to a deadline. Murmurs spread. An older councilwoman spoke. Miss Parker, no one wishes to force you. Emily looked at her. Then why am I here? Silence. The woman hesitated. To understand your intentions. My intention is to continue being a healer. Wallace sighed. And regarding the Alpha King? Emily's gaze sharpened. Ask him whether he wants his private life discussed as an administrative problem. Several faces turned toward Ryan. He almost smiled. Wallace looked uncomfortable. Your Majesty? Ryan folded his hands. I do not. The room shifted. Wallace tried again. But the crown requires an heir. Ryan's expression cooled. The kingdom requires laws, food, borders, justice, and competent leadership. He looked around the chamber. It does not require Emily Parker to become pregnant on a schedule convenient to this table. Emily's eyes widened slightly. Sarah covered a smile. Wallace flushed. That is an unnecessarily crude interpretation. It is an accurate one. Ryan stood. I have listened to this council discuss Emily's eligibility, rank, suitability, title, and reproductive value long enough. The chamber froze. Ryan removed the royal mating charter from the stack before him. This document grants the council authority to pressure an Alpha King toward formal mating selection when succession is considered unstable. Emily stared at him. She had never seen the charter before. Ryan continued. It also permits the crown to initiate ceremonial review without the consent of the person being considered. Wallace rose. Your Majesty, that charter is 200 years old. Yes. You cannot discard constitutional tradition because one ceremony was mishandled. Ryan looked at Emily. No, then back at Wallace. I am discarding it because no tradition should survive simply because it has been violating consent for a long time. He placed the charter on the table. James stepped forward carrying a new document. Ryan signed it. Effective immediately, no royal courtship, mating ceremony, Luna appointment, or succession partnership may begin without written consent from every adult involved. The chamber erupted. Wallace stared. You are surrendering crown authority. Ryan shook his head. I am returning authority to the people whose lives it governs. Emily felt something inside her go still. Months ago, Ryan had stopped a mating ceremony because she was missing. Tonight, he dismantled the rule that had allowed the kingdom to treat women like entries on a political ledger. And he had done it before knowing what Emily would choose. That mattered. The council argued for another hour. Ryan did not change the decree. When the chamber finally emptied, Emily remained. Ryan gathered the documents slowly. You are angry. No, he looked at her. You are quiet. That is different. Ryan waited. Emily approached. Did you do that because you think it will make me say yes? His expression became serious. No, if I never become Luna, the law stays. If I never marry you, the law stays. If I decide tomorrow that this relationship is over, pain moved through his face. But he answered, the law stays. Emily's throat tightened. That was the answer she needed. She stepped closer. Ryan remained still. You keep making it very difficult to stay uncertain about you. A faint smile touched his mouth. I can become more irritating if that helps. It might. Emily reached for his hand. Ryan looked down as her fingers closed around his. This time, she had not been asked. No audience waited. No ceremony demanded meaning. She simply wanted to touch him. Ryan lifted his eyes. Emily, I am not saying yes to being Luna. I know. I am not agreeing to a mating ceremony. I know. She took a breath. But I am saying yes to something. Hope appeared in his face. Careful. Contained. What? Emily moved closer. To finding out whether there is a future for us that neither of us has to be ordered into. Ryan's thumb brushed gently across her knuckles. I would like that. Emily smiled. So would I. Outside the council chamber, the bells of Blackwood Castle began marking midnight. Once, those bells had announced a mating ceremony designed to choose a woman for a king. Tonight, they rang over a kingdom where the Alpha King had finally made something clear. The next woman who stood beside him would not be selected by rank, not appointed by council, not admitted because someone opened a door. She would stand there because she chose to. And for the first time, Emily was beginning to wonder whether someday that choice might be hers. If I walk through those doors tonight, Emily Parker said, I want everyone to understand that no one invited me into my own future. Ryan Blackwood looked toward the open entrance of Moon Hall. 1 year had passed since the mating ceremony that had changed everything. The silver lanterns were burning again. Music drifted across the castle courtyard. But there were no candidate lines. No ranking tables. No fathers negotiating daughters into alliances. Tonight was simply the first anniversary of the new consent charter. Every adult invited to Moon Hall had entered by choice. Emily stood beside Ryan at the foot of the steps. She wore deep green again. Not because anyone had chosen the color for her. Because she remembered the woman who had once worn it outside these same doors and refused to cry when someone told her she did not belong. Ryan wore black formal armor beneath a dark cloak. No ceremonial mating crown. Emily had specifically requested that. He had agreed without argument. Mostly. You argued for 11 minutes, she reminded him. I expressed concerns. You complained. I am Alpha King. My complaints are ceremonial concerns. Emily laughed. Ryan smiled. A year ago, she had been surprised every time he made her laugh. Now she had learned that the terrifying Alpha King was strangely bad at jokes and far too proud of every successful one. Their relationship had grown in ordinary moments. Breakfast after night shifts. Arguments over medical budgets. Walks through the forest. Ryan learning not to send 20 guards when Emily requested 4. Emily learning that trusting someone again did not mean surrendering the ability to leave. She remained a healer. More than that now. The Northern Clinics had elected her coordinator of the Royal Medical Network. The position belonged to her. Not to Aluna. Not to Ryan's partner. Emily Parker. That mattered. Sarah appeared at the top of the steps. If you two plan to spend the entire celebration outside, I will eat your desserts. Ryan looked offended. That sounds like treason. Sarah smiled. Your laws now require evidence. Emily laughed again. James Turner opened the Moon Hall doors wider. Inside, hundreds of people waited. Some watched Emily curiously. Others smiled. No one held a registry. Ryan extended his hand, then stopped. He lowered it. Emily noticed. You can offer. His eyebrows lifted. I was trying not to assume. There is a difference between offering and taking. Ryan slowly held out his hand again. Would you like to come in with me? Emily looked at it, then at the doorway. A year ago, she had surrendered a silver invitation token outside these doors. Months later, she had returned one because she no longer needed permission to know her worth. Tonight, she carried nothing. No token. No proof of eligibility. No document declaring that she belonged. Emily placed her hand in Ryan's. Yes. They entered together. The room did not erupt into applause. Emily was grateful. She had told James that anyone organizing a dramatic entrance would be personally assigned a month of infirmary inventory duty. Apparently, the threat had worked. Halfway across the hall, Ryan stopped. What? He looked nervous. That alone was alarming. Ryan, there is something I need to ask. Emily narrowed her eyes. If you arranged a surprise mating ceremony, I will leave. I value my life. Good. He reached into his coat. Not for a ring. For a folded parchment. Emily stared. What is that? My resignation. Her heart stopped. From what? From deciding where we live. She unfolded it. Ryan had transferred permanent authority over the small royal residence near the Healer District into joint ownership. No palace requirement. No Luna clause. No marriage condition. Emily looked up. You wrote a housing contract? I was advised that kneeling dramatically might be excessive. By whom? Everyone. She smiled despite herself. Ryan's expression softened. I am not asking you to become Luna tonight. I know. I am not asking for a mate claim. I know. I am asking whether you want to build a home with me. Emily looked across Moon Hall, the room where strangers once debated whether she deserved to enter. Then she looked at Ryan, the man who had first noticed she was missing, and who had spent the year afterward learning something harder. How to notice when she needed space, when she needed help, when she wanted to lead, when she wanted him beside her. Emily folded the parchment. Yes. Ryan stopped breathing. She smiled. One condition. Of course. The infirmary stays closer than the throne room. He laughed. Done. And I keep working. Emily. Yes. I fell in love with the healer. Her eyes softened. Good answer. Ryan leaned closer. But he waited. Emily closed the distance and kissed him. Around them, conversations continued. No royal announcement transformed the moment into public property. No council declared her chosen. No ceremony decided her future. When they finally separated, Ryan rested his forehead gently against hers. Do you remember what Madeline said that night? Emily did. Women like you. She looked toward the open doors. Yes. Does it still hurt? Sometimes. Ryan's expression tightened. Emily squeezed his hand. But she was wrong about something. What? Emily smiled. I was never waiting for a king to decide I belonged here. Ryan looked at her. No. No. She turned toward the hall and pulled him gently beside her. I was waiting until I believed I could walk in without leaving myself outside. Ryan followed. Not ahead. Not pulling her. Beside her. And this time, when Emily Parker entered Moon Hall with the Alpha King, no one wondered whether she had been allowed inside. Everyone understood that the most powerful choice in the room had always been hers.